Fired waiter helps lost child. The next day, 5 SUVs arrive at his house. Jason Miller had just been unfairly fired from the most elegant restaurant in Aspen when he found the 5-year-old boy crying alone on the sidewalk. The devastation of losing the job that supported his sick mother still burned in his chest, but he couldn't ignore that small, disoriented child. The boy wore a simple but clean orange t-shirt and seemed completely lost. Between sobs, he could only say he lived in the big house but couldn't explain where it was. Jason looked around for any adult, but the street was empty on that cold autumn afternoon. "Hey, little one, where's your mommy?" Jason asked, crouching to the child's level. The boy just shook his head, tears streaming down his flushed face. Jason's heart tightened. Even with all his problems, he couldn't leave that child there. "Let's go find your family, okay?" he said softly. For 3 hours, Jason walked the streets of Aspen with the boy. They knocked door to door, asked shopkeepers and passers-by. The boy, who said his name was Timmy, couldn't give more information besides repeating that his house was really big and had lots of cars. The sun began to set when they finally reached an upscale part of town. Right at the neighborhood entrance, 2 private security guards approached them sharply. "What are you doing here?" one asked, eyeing Jason up and down with suspicion. "I'm trying to help this child find his family," Jason explained. "He's been lost for hours." The guards exchanged wary glances. One stepped closer. "Do you have any ID? How do we know you're not trying to take advantage of the situation?" Jason felt humiliation burn his face. Here he was, unfairly fired, being treated like a suspect for trying to do good. "I just want to help," he said calmly. "You can check if any family is looking for a missing child." After much insistence and a humiliating search, one guard finally agreed to make some calls. It didn't take long for confirmation to come. "The Thompson family is looking for their son," the guard said. "We'll take you there." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, the Thompson mansion was impressive even by the neighborhood's high standards. Perfectly manicured gardens, a garage full of imported cars, and a facade straight out of a magazine. Jason felt even smaller as he climbed the marble steps. The door opened before they even rang the bell. An elegant middle-aged woman rushed out and desperately hugged Timmy. "My boy, where were you?" she cried through tears. Behind her came a tall man in an expensive suit. His face was a mask of worry that quickly turned to relief upon seeing his son. "Timmy," the father said, scooping the boy into his arms. Jason stood there, perhaps waiting for a thank you, some acknowledgement for his hours of effort. But what he got was very different. "How did he end up with you?" the father asked, eyeing Jason suspiciously. "I found him crying on the street near downtown," Jason explained. "I spent the whole afternoon trying to help him find you." The man looked him up and down, noting the restaurant uniform, the simple clothes. "Where do you work?" "I worked at the Skyline restaurant," Jason replied, bitterness in his voice. "I was fired today." This seemed to heighten the couple's suspicion. They exchanged meaningful glances. "Thank you for bringing our son," the woman said coldly, already closing the door. "Good night." Jason stood frozen at the door, stunned. Not even a proper thank you. The day's humiliation was complete. He trudged down the steps and began the long walk home. The small apartment he shared with his mother, Mrs. Susan, was on the other side of town. It was a modest place with old but well-kept furniture. His mother was waiting in the living room, her face lined with worry. "Jason, where were you? I called the restaurant and they said you don't work there anymore." He collapsed onto the worn-out couch and poured out the whole story. The unfair firing, meeting Timmy, the humiliation at the mansion. "My son, you did the right thing," Mrs. Susan said, running her fingers through his hair. "The world may be ungrateful, but our conscience stays at peace." "I don't know how we'll pay for your medicine this month, Mom," Jason said, his voice heavy with despair. Mrs. Susan had diabetes and needed expensive medication. His restaurant wages barely covered the basics. "God will make a way, son, he always does." Jason didn't share his mother's religious optimism, but he couldn't bring himself to argue. He fell asleep that night thinking about the suspicious looks from Timmy's parents, the injustice of his firing, the uncertainty of the future. The next morning, around 9, Jason was jolted awake by the sound of engines outside. He looked through the bedroom window and froze. 5 black SUVs were parked in front of the modest building where he lived. His heart raced. His first thought was panic. Were they here to accuse him of something? Had the wealthy family's distrust led to some kind of report? "Mom," he called, "there are strange cars outside." Mrs. Susan hurried to the window and gasped. "Good Lord, whose cars are those?" A knock came at the door. Jason took a deep breath before opening it, bracing for the worst. To his surprise, standing there was Timmy, holding the hand of an elegant, silver-haired woman. "Mister!" the boy shouted, running to hug Jason's legs. The woman smiled warmly. "You must be Jason. I'm Patricia Thompson, Timmy's grandmother. May we talk?" Still confused, Jason invited them in. The simple apartment seemed to shrink under the presence of the elegant woman, but she sat on the old couch as if it were the most comfortable seat in the world. "Timmy hasn't stopped talking about you since yesterday," Mrs. Patricia began. "He said the kind mister took care of him and wouldn't leave until he was safe." Jason glanced at the boy, who was playing with a toy car he'd brought along. Anyone would have done the same. "No, Jason, not everyone would. And I should explain something important about my grandson," Mrs. Patricia said, her voice turning serious. "Timmy has autism. He rarely trusts strangers, rarely lets new people close. The fact that he stayed calm with you, that he let you help him, that's extraordinary." A lump formed in Jason's throat. He hadn't known about the boy's condition. He'd just acted on instinct. "When they got home yesterday, my children had been panicking for hours. Timmy had slipped out of the garden without anyone noticing. We mobilized security, called everyone we knew, and then you showed up," the grandmother continued. "His parents didn't seem very grateful," Jason said, unable to hide the hurt. Mrs. Patricia sighed. "My children are good people, but they live in a bubble. They distrust everyone, especially those from different social classes. It was unfair, I know." Timmy walked up to Jason with his toy car. "Want to play, mister?" "Sure," Jason said, sitting on the floor. Mrs. Patricia watched the interaction closely. The boy was relaxed, smiling, something that rarely happened with new people. "Jason," she said softly, "I'd like to hear your story. Timmy told me you work at a restaurant, but yesterday his parents understood you had been fired." Jason hesitated but ended up sharing about the injustice at Skyline Restaurant, how he had discovered the manager was stealing from the register, and instead of being rewarded for his honesty, was fired under false accusations. "What restaurant was that?" asked Mrs. Patricia. "Skyline, it's in the downtown area." The woman's expression changed. "That restaurant belongs to our resort's competitors, and from what I know, they've been having serious management issues." Jason didn't understand where this was going, but continued sharing about his situation, his diabetic mother, the expensive medication, the struggle to find new work in a small town. "I can offer you a job at one of our resorts," said Mrs. Patricia. "I'm sure you'd be an exemplary employee." "I don't want charity," Jason replied quickly, his pride speaking louder. "It's not charity, it's recognition. And besides," she glanced at Timmy, who was still playing quietly beside Jason, "my grandson seems to have found a special friend." Mrs. Susan, who had stayed quiet until then, finally spoke. "Jason, take the opportunity. Pride doesn't pay for medicine." But Jason still hesitated. The whole situation seemed too good to be true. "Let me think about it," he said at last. "Of course, but first I want to tell you something about our in-house restaurant. We recently discovered Skyline has been trying to harm our business through questionable tactics. Firing honest employees like you is part of their strategy." Jason's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "They deliberately sabotage competent employees to get them fired, causing service issues and damaging the establishment's reputation. It's a dirty business war." The revelation left Jason stunned. His firing hadn't just been personal injustice, it was part of a bigger scheme. "Can we prove this?" he asked. "We're investigating, and having you as a witness would be very helpful." Timmy moved closer to Jason again. "Mister, will you be my friend forever?" Jason looked into those innocent eyes and felt his heart tighten. "Always, little one." Mrs. Patricia smiled. "Then it's settled. You start Monday at the resort. And Jason?" "Yes? My family may have a lot of money, but what my grandson found in you is priceless, genuine kindness." After they left, Jason stood by the window watching the SUVs drive away. Life had taken a complete turn in less than 24 hours. "Mom, is this real?" "It's real, my son, and you deserve it." On Monday, Jason arrived at Thompson Resort, a luxurious complex in the mountains of Aspen. Mrs. Patricia personally welcomed him and introduced him to the manager, Mr. Scott. "Jason will be our new guest service supervisor," she said. "I expect him to be treated with full respect." The salary was 3 times higher than his previous restaurant job. Jason could hardly believe his luck. The first few days were an adjustment. The resort was far more sophisticated than anywhere he'd worked before, but his experience and dedication soon won over colleagues and guests. Timmy often visited with his grandmother to see his friend. Jason learned the boy had regular therapy sessions and that the family was always looking for ways to help him develop socially. "He's never shown so much affection for someone outside the family," Mrs. Patricia remarked during one visit. "You have a special gift with children." Jason began to realize he truly had a knack for connecting with the resort's younger guests. Families praised his patience and warmth. 2 weeks after starting the job, Mrs. Susan fell seriously ill overnight. Jason rushed her to the hospital in a panic. The doctors diagnosed a serious diabetic crisis and prescribed even more expensive medications. "I don't know how I'm going to pay for this," Jason murmured in the hospital hallway. "Trouble with your mother?" a voice said behind him. Jason turned and saw Mrs. Patricia with Timmy. They were there for the boy's routine checkup. "Nothing serious, just—" Jason began, but his voice faltered. "Jason, you can trust me. What's going on?" He told her about his mother's crisis and the costly medications. Mrs. Patricia listened quietly. "I'll advance your salary and cover the treatment." "I can't accept that," Jason said automatically. "Then consider it an interest-free loan. You can pay it back when you can." Timmy stepped closer and held Jason's hand. "Are you sad, mister?" "A little, buddy. Grandma will help. Grandma always helps." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Jason ended up accepting the help, promising to repay everything as soon as possible. Mrs. Susan was hospitalized for 3 days, and during that time Timmy visited the hospital daily. "Why is the boy so interested in coming here?" a nurse asked. "He wants to see if his friend's mother is getting better," Mrs. Patricia explained. It was true. Timmy showed a genuine concern that surprised everyone. When Mrs. Susan finally woke up lucid, the boy was by her bedside, drawing a sun. "So you can get strong," he said, handing her the drawing. Mrs. Susan cried with emotion. "What a special child." "He really is," Jason agreed. "And he's teaching me a lot about kindness." During his mother's recovery, Jason discovered that Timmy attended the same hospital for his weekly therapies. The boy always asked to stop by Mrs. Susan's room before or after his sessions. "Can I talk to you about something?" Timmy's therapist asked one day. "Of course." Timmy's progress these past few weeks has been remarkable. He's more communicative, more open. When we ask what changed, he always talks about his friend Jason. Jason was moved. "He's helping me a lot too. We've noticed you have a natural way with the children here at the hospital. Have you ever considered working in child therapy?" It was something he'd never thought about, but the idea intrigued him. When Mrs. Susan was discharged, the entire Thompson family was at the hospital door. Timmy's parents, Michael and Jennifer, were finally introduced to Jason properly. "We want to apologize for how we treated you that first day," Jennifer said, visibly embarrassed. "We were desperate and scared." "And suspicious," Michael added. "But seeing how our son has changed since meeting you, we realize we misjudged you." Jason accepted their apologies gracefully, though he still felt the weight of that first negative impression. "What matters is that Timmy is okay," he said simply. In the following months, Jason settled fully into his new life. His work at the resort was going well, his mother was recovering, and his friendship with Timmy grew deeper each day. That's when Mrs. Patricia made a surprising proposal. "Jason, we're thinking of opening a special section at the resort for families with autistic children. It would be a pilot project, offering activities and therapies during vacations. Would you like to coordinate it?" "I don't have the training for that," Jason protested. "You have something better, a calling, and we can fund your specialization in the field." Jason hesitated. It seemed like more responsibility than he could handle. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, but know the idea came from seeing how you interact with Timmy and other children." That night, Jason talked at length with his mother. "Son, when God puts opportunities in our path, we should seize them. You have a gift, use it. But what if I fail? What if you don't even try?" The decision came when Timmy had a meltdown during a visit to the resort. Other guests were watching, some with impatience, others with pity. Jason calmly approached and, within minutes, managed to soothe the boy. "How did you do that?" asked a mother staying there with her autistic son. "I just showed him I understand," replied Jason. "Do you work with this?" "No, but maybe I should." That conversation made him realize many families faced similar struggles, needing understanding and support. The next day, he went to Mrs. Patricia. "I accept the challenge. I want to lead the project." "Wonderful. We'll start your training right away." Jason began an intensive course in child therapy and development for children on the autism spectrum. Meanwhile, he kept working at the resort and maintaining his routine with Timmy. The boy was thrilled by the news. "Mister gonna help other kids like me? I'll try." "I'll help too," and Timmy truly did. During the project's development, his suggestions and perspective were key to creating a welcoming environment. 3 months later, the Embrace project launched at the resort. The first week welcomed 5 families with autistic children for a pilot experience. Jason was nervous, but determined. Mrs. Patricia stayed by his side those early days. "You're doing something revolutionary," she said. "There aren't many places in the United States offering this kind of service." The results exceeded expectations. Families were delighted with the specialized care, tailored activities, and warm environment. "It's the first time we've taken a family trip without stress," one mother remarked. Timmy proudly served as the project's special assistant, helping other children feel comfortable. But not everything was smooth sailing. By the 3rd month, unexpected issues arose. One of Michael's brothers, Richard Thompson, began questioning the project's expenses. "We're pouring too much money into an initiative that doesn't turn a profit," he complained during a family meeting. "It's not about profit, Richard," Mrs. Patricia countered. "It's about social responsibility." "Social responsibility doesn't pay the bills, and this Jason, how do we know he's not taking advantage?" Jason, present at the meeting, felt the old humiliation resurface. "I can show you all the expense reports," he said, steadying his voice. "It's not about transparency," Richard insisted. "It's about priorities. Why are we funding charity projects?" Timmy, playing in the corner, stopped and stared wide-eyed at his uncle. "Uncle Richard don't like my friend." The silence was awkward. Richard faltered. "It's not that, Timmy," he finally said. "It's just... Jason's my best friend," the boy said, moving closer to Jason. "He helps me and other kids." Mrs. Patricia stepped in. "Richard, this project isn't up for debate. It's my decision as company president." "Mom, you're being swayed by emotions." "I'm being swayed by results. This project has already gained national recognition. We have a waiting list for next semester." Jason tried to intervene. "Mrs. Patricia, if my presence is causing family tension..." "Your presence isn't the problem," she said firmly. "Prejudice is." The family rift deepened in the following weeks. Richard began casting doubt on Jason's motives, suggesting he was manipulating the situation for personal gain. "He shows up out of nowhere, wins the family's trust, and now he's coordinating important projects," he said to other relatives. "Don't you find that suspicious?" The gossip reached Jason through hotel staff. He was devastated. "Maybe I should leave," he said to Mrs. Susan one evening. "Son, You've done nothing wrong. You can't run away every time someone questions your intentions. But what if they're right? What if I really took advantage of the situation? Jason Miller, Mrs. Susan said, using the stern tone from his childhood. You found a lost child and helped him out of kindness. Everything that came after was a result of that kindness. Don't let petty voices make you doubt yourself. Even so, Jason was shaken. He began avoiding unnecessary contact with the family, focusing only on work. Timmy noticed the change. Mr. Jason is sad again? A little, buddy. Is it because of Uncle Richard? Jason was startled by the boy's perception. Did you hear the conversations? Uncle Richard talks loud. He says you're not family. He's right, Timmy. I'm not your family. But you're my friend. Isn't that family too? The child's innocence and wisdom touched Jason deeply. Yes, it is, little one. It is. The situation reached a breaking point when Richard convinced other relatives to question the project's expenses. An emergency meeting was called. Jason wasn't invited, but Timmy insisted he be there. If they're going to talk about my friend, he has to be here, the boy said. Mrs. Patricia agreed. At the meeting, Richard presented numbers questioning the project's viability. In 6 months, we've spent more than we've raised. This charity project is draining resources that could be invested in expansion. The numbers are correct, Mrs. Patricia admitted, but the benefits go beyond finances. Sentimental benefits don't pay employees, Richard insisted. Jason stood up. May I speak? Richard looked at him with disdain. Of course, since you're the one most interested in keeping this project going. Actually, Jason said, taking a deep breath, I've been thinking about leaving the project. Silence fell. Timmy's eyes widened. What? Why? Because maybe your Uncle Richard is right. Maybe I did take advantage of the situation, even without realizing it. You didn't, Timmy shouted, running to hug Jason. You're kind. Mrs. Patricia was visibly shaken. Jason, you can't leave the project. It's working. It's helping families. It's working because people trust you, the Thompson brand, not me. And if my presence is dividing the family has always had divisions, Michael said, speaking for the first time. The difference is now they're about something worth defending. Daddy, Timmy said. It's true, son. Your friend Jason has taught us a lot about what really matters, and I was blind to it. Richard turned red. Michael, you're being emotionally influenced too. No, Richard. I'm being influenced by reality. My son is happier, more communicative, more confident since meeting Jason. The project is gaining national recognition. Families are being helped. And you want to end it because of spreadsheets? Jennifer supported her husband. Richard, don't you see Timmy's progress? Don't you see how other children benefit? I see sentimentality overriding business decisions, Richard replied, unmoved. Then Timmy let go of Jason and walked up to his uncle. Uncle Richard, he said with a clarity that surprised everyone, you're being mean to my friend. Timmy, I'm not. Yes, you are. Jason helped me when I was lost. He helps other kids, and you want him to leave. That's mean. The boy turned to the whole family. If Jason leaves, I'm going with him. Mrs. Patricia stood up. Enough! This discussion ends here. The project continues. Jason stays, and anyone who disagrees can leave the company. Mom! No discussion, Richard. You're questioning decisions based on prejudice and jealousy. That's unacceptable. Richard stormed out, slamming the door. Other relatives followed, leaving only the close family circle. Jason was devastated. I caused a split in the family. That wasn't part of my plan. You didn't cause anything, said Mrs. Patricia. You just revealed differences that were already there. Timmy moved back to Jason's side. You're not leaving, right? Jason looked into those trusting eyes and made a decision. I'm not, little one. I promise. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. In the following months, the family division deepened. Richard and his supporters left the company to start a competing business. This brought new challenges for the resort and the project. "They're trying to hurt us," Michael said during a meeting. "They're spreading rumors that our project is just a marketing stunt." "Let them talk," Mrs. Patricia replied. "The results speak for themselves." And they truly did. The Embrace project had become a national model. Families came from other states to participate. Jason had become a recognized authority in the field. But success also brought greater responsibilities. Jason had to travel for lectures, attend conferences, and give interviews. "I'm drifting away from what really matters," he told Mrs. Susan, "from working directly with the children." "Son, you're multiplying your impact. Every lecture you give can inspire other similar projects." "But Timmy misses me. And I miss him." It was true. The frequent trips were disrupting the routine Jason and Timmy had built. "Mister, are you traveling again?" the boy asked one afternoon. "I have to, little one. I need to talk about our project to others." "Can I come?" Jason smiled. "Not this time, but I promise we'll do something special when I get back." During one of Jason's trips, Timmy had a significant regression. He went days without speaking, refusing to participate in the project's activities. "He's really feeling your absence," Jennifer said when Jason returned. "Maybe I should turn down more invitations. Or maybe we should find a way to include Timmy in some of the activities." The idea led to a new phase of the project. Timmy began joining some lectures and demonstrations as a special assistant. His unique perspective as an autistic child greatly enriched the presentations. "This boy is becoming an ambassador for the cause," remarked an expert after a lecture in New York. Jason felt proud, but also concerned. "I don't want him to feel pressured." "Timmy loves helping," Mrs. Patricia reassured him. "And he's developing social skills we never thought possible." It was true. The boy had become more communicative, confident, and independent. A year after the project began, an unexpected offer arrived. An international hotel chain wanted to implement the project worldwide, offering a significant sum for the rights. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," Michael said. "We could expand the concept globally." "But we'd lose control over how it's implemented," Jason pointed out. "And it would lose the personal touch that makes it special," Mrs. Patricia added. The family was divided. The financial offer was tempting, but everyone feared losing the project's essence. "What do you think, Timmy?" Mrs. Patricia asked. "I think our project is special because it has love. If others do it just for money, it won't be the same." The child's wisdom impressed everyone. "It's decided," said Mrs. Patricia. "We're turning down the offer. We'll keep growing at our own pace, staying true to our values." Jason felt relieved. Excessive commercialization had always worried him. 2 years after the project began, the Embrace project had become a model for the entire country. Jason was writing a book about the experience, with a foreword by Timmy. "My friend Jason taught me that different can be special," the boy wrote, "and that real friendship doesn't need big words." The simplicity and depth of his words moved everyone who read the draft. During the book launch, a surprise awaited Jason. His former boss from the Skyline restaurant showed up at the event. "Jason, I need to talk to you," she said, visibly nervous. "Mrs. Karen, what are you doing here?" "I came to apologize and to tell you the truth about your firing." Jason tensed up. Timmy, standing beside him, held his hand. "What truth?" "The manager really was embezzling money. When you found out and reported it, he pressured me to fire you. Said you were trouble, that you were causing conflicts. I believed him. And now? Now he's in jail for fraud. And I found out your firing was part of a scheme to hurt the restaurant. You were right all along." Jason felt a mix of relief and bitterness. The injustice was finally being acknowledged, but too late to undo the pain he'd gone through. "Thank you for telling me," he said simply. "Don't you want me to make this public? Clear your name?" Jason looked at Timmy, then at Mrs. Patricia and the family who stood by him. "My name is already clear, and this story brought me here. I wouldn't change a thing." Mrs. Karen stepped back, amazed by Jason's maturity. "You've grown so much," Mrs. Patricia remarked. "I learned from the best," Jason replied, glancing at Timmy. The book's success brought even more recognition. Jason was invited to speak at universities, international conferences, and TV shows. "You're becoming a celebrity," Mrs. Susan teased. "A celebrity who still lives in the same tiny apartment with his mum," Jason laughed. "Because you choose to. You could have a bigger place. And leave where it all started? Never." Timmy, now 8, had become an articulate and confident child. He still had his autistic quirks, but had learned to navigate the world much more easily. "Jason," he said one afternoon, "can I ask you something?" "Always, little man." "Why did you help me that day? You were sad, but you still helped me." Jason thought about the profound question. Because when we're hurting, helping someone reminds us there's still kindness in the world. And is there? There is. You've proven that to me every day. By the project's 3rd year, a new crisis emerged. The Thompson Resort was struggling financially due to competition from Richard's company and the high costs of maintaining the social program. "We might have to scale back the project," Michael said worriedly. "Or find ways to make it sustainable," Jason suggested. "Like how?" "Partnerships with other businesses, sponsorships, maybe even fundraising events." Jason and Timmy began working together on an awareness campaign. The boy suggested making a documentary about the project. "People need to see how normal we are," he said. "Just different." The documentary, simple yet touching, went viral on social media. Companies started reaching out to the resort, offering sponsorships. "You did it," Mrs. Patricia said, beaming. "The project isn't just sustainable, it's thriving." Sustainability allowed the project to expand. Jason could hire more specialists, create new activities, and serve more families. Timmy officially became the project's junior ambassador, participating in events and helping other children feel welcome. "You've turned into quite the young man," Jason said one afternoon. "And you've become the most important person in my life," Timmy replied. "More important than your parents." "Different. My parents love me because I'm their son. You love me because you know me." The depth of the answer moved Jason deeply. 4 years after that fateful day, Jason was a transformed man. He had become a national reference for inclusion, written 2 books and created a project serving hundreds of families every year. But what mattered most to him was still his friendship with Timmy. "You know what makes me proudest?" Mrs. Patricia said in a conversation. "That the project succeeded. That my grandson has the best friend a child could ever have." During Timmy's birthday party, now at 9 years old, the boy gave a speech that surprised everyone. "I want to thank my best friend Jason," he said, gripping the microphone firmly. "He found me when I was lost, and he taught me that being lost isn't a problem if you have someone who finds you." Not a single dry eye remained at the party. "I want everyone to know," Timmy continued, "that having autism doesn't make me sad. It makes me special. And having a friend like Jason makes me whole." Jason openly wept. That little boy had become his greatest teacher. After the party, the 2 walked through the resort's garden. "Jason, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course. That day you found me, I wasn't really lost." Jason stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "I ran away on purpose. I wanted adventure. But then I got scared and didn't know how to get back." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I want you to know you didn't save me by accident. You saved me because you're kind, and that changed my whole life." Jason hugged the boy, realizing how much they had grown together. On the project's 5th anniversary, a special ceremony was held. Authorities, beneficiary families, experts, and the media were all present. Jason was honored as a pioneer in social inclusion in tourism. But it was Timmy, now 10, who stole the show with his opening speech. "5 years ago, a man found me crying on the street," he began, with impressive maturity for his age. "He was sad because he'd lost his job. Even so, he helped me. Today, hundreds of families are helped because he chose kindness on a bad day." The audience was deeply moved. "It taught me that our worst days can become someone else's best, that helping others heals our own sadness, and that true friendship has no age." Jason could barely hold back his tears. "That's why," Timmy continued, "I want to announce that when I grow up, I'll work with Jason forever. Because my mission is to help other kids like me feel special." The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, Richard Thompson appeared unexpectedly. Jason tensed, but Mrs. Patricia reassured him. "Jason," Richard said, visibly embarrassed, "I came to apologize." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. I was wrong, completely wrong. The project you created is extraordinary, and you're an exceptional person. What changed your mind? My own son was diagnosed with autism 6 months ago, and the first thing the doctors recommended was learning about your work." Jason was stunned. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "How could you? I spent years rejecting exactly what my son needed. The irony is cruel." Timmy approached. "Uncle Richard wants to see our project?" "If you'll allow me, yes." "Of course," said Timmy enthusiastically. "I'll show you everything, and my cousin too." The family reconciliation was an emotional moment. Richard had learned about acceptance the hardest way possible. 6 years after their chance encounter, Jason watched Timmy, now an 11-year-old preteen, leading a group of younger children in a project activity. "He was born for this," remarked Mrs. Patricia. "Born to be special," Jason agreed. The project had grown beyond all expectations. Other resorts had created similar programs. Jason had become an international consultant, but never accepted projects that kept him away from home for too long. "Why?" asked an American businessman. "You could make a lot more money working globally." "Because I have a commitment here," Jason replied, "to a boy who taught me that success isn't measured in money." Mrs. Susan, now fully recovered and working as the special meals coordinator at the resort, watched her son with pride. "Do you remember that awful day when you got fired?" she asked. "I do, and you know what I think today?" "What?" "That it was the best day of my life. If I hadn't been fired, I'd never have found Timmy on the street. I'd never have discovered my true calling." "God works in mysterious ways," said Mrs. Susan. "Or maybe special children are angels in disguise," Jason laughed. During the project's 7th anniversary celebration, Timmy, now 12, gave a presentation titled, "What I've Learned About Friendship." "True friendship," he told an audience of experts, "isn't about speaking the same language or having the same abilities. It's about understanding each other's hearts." Jason was moved, as always. "Jason understood me when I couldn't explain myself. He respected me when I was different, and he taught me that being different is being special." After the presentation, a journalist asked Jason, "What's the secret to the project's success?" "Not treating differences as problems to be fixed, but as unique traits to be celebrated." "And personally, what changed in your life?" Jason looked at Timmy, who was chatting animatedly with other children. "I learned that sometimes, when we think we're helping someone, we're actually the ones being helped." On the project's 8th anniversary, a special surprise awaited Jason. Timmy had written a children's book about friendship and inclusion. "The Lost Boy and the Kind Heart," Jason read, moved. "Timmy, this is amazing." "It's our story," said the boy, now a well-spoken teenager. "So other kids know that being different doesn't mean being less." The book became a national success, with all proceeds going to the project. During the launch, a child in the audience asked Timmy, "How did you know Jason was a good person that day?" Timmy thought for a moment. "He was sad, but he stopped to help me. People who help even when they're hurting are the best people in the world." Jason could hardly believe the maturity and wisdom of the boy he'd found crying on the street so many years ago. 9 years after their meeting, the Embrace Project had become an international model. Jason received offers to work in other countries, but always declined. "My place is here," he said in an interview, "beside the person who taught me everything about inclusion and friendship." Timmy, now 14, had become a co-creator of many project initiatives. His unique perspective remained essential. "Jason," he said one afternoon, "you know our friendship changed a lot of people, right? How so?" "My parents learned to see me differently. Grandma learned that kindness is the best investment. Uncle Richard learned about acceptance. And you learned that you have a special gift." "And you? What did you learn?" "That being autistic doesn't make me broken. It makes me unique, and that having a true friend is the most special thing in the world." During the 10-year anniversary celebration of the project, Jason gave a heartfelt speech. "A decade ago, I was a bitter man. unfairly fired with no prospects. Today I am fulfilled, not because of professional success, but because of a friendship that changed my life." He looked at Timmy, now a 15-year-old young man. "This project exists because a 5-year-old boy taught me that kindness is a choice, and that choice can transform the world." The audience was moved, but Timmy had a surprise. "Jason," he said, stepping onto the stage, "you always talk about what I taught you, but I want everyone to know what you taught me." The room fell silent. "You taught me that I don't have to be like others to be loved, that my differences make me special, not strange, and that true friendship has no limits." Jason openly wept. "That's why," Timmy continued, "I want to announce that next year we'll open the first inclusive school in Aspen, so no child ever feels as lost as I did that day." The applause was deafening. Jason could hardly believe what he'd heard. When did you plan this?" "For months," said Mrs. Patricia, beaming. "The whole family is involved. It's our gift to both of you." 11 years after that chance encounter, Jason watched Timmy, now 16, leading a meeting about the new school. "Inclusive education isn't about tolerating differences," the young man said with striking maturity. "It's about celebrating diversity as strength." Jason was proud of the man Timmy was becoming, but more than that, he was proud of the friendship they'd built. "You know," Mrs. Susan said, "sometimes I think you two were destined to meet." "Why do you say that?" "Because you complete each other. He taught you about acceptance, and you taught him about trust. Together, you're changing the world." At the school's inauguration, 12 years after their meeting, Timmy gave the opening speech. "This school exists because 12 years ago, a man chose to help a lost child. That simple choice created ripples that led us here." Jason sat in the front row, proud as a father. "Every child who studies here will know that being different is being special, that having struggles doesn't mean being less valuable, and that with the right person beside you we can overcome any obstacle." The young man looked directly at Jason. "Thank you, my best friend, for finding me that day, and thank you for never letting me get lost again." The ceremony ended with an iconic photo. Jason and Timmy holding hands in front of the school, just as they had walked the streets of Aspen so many years before. 13 years later, Jason had become a global advocate for inclusion. Timmy, now 18, was recognized as the youngest activist for autistic rights in the United States. "Do you know the secret to our success?" Jason asked at an international conference. "We never treated autism as a limitation, but as a different way of seeing the world. And that perspective has enriched everything we do." Timmy, standing beside him, added, "And most of all, we never let the fear of difference stop us from building bridges." After the conference, the two walked through the place where it all began, the street where they'd first met. "Jason," Timmy said, "can I confess something?" "Always. Sometimes I'm afraid our friendship will change when I become an adult." Jason stopped and looked at the young man. "Timmy, our friendship has already been through so many transformations. You went from a lost child to a young leader. I went from an unemployed waiter to a recognized activist. But you know what never changed?" "What?" "The fact that we like each other exactly as we are. That will never change." 15 years after their chance encounter, Jason watched Timmy, now 20 years old, graduate with a degree in psychology, specializing in child development. "I'm so proud," Jason said after the ceremony. "And I'm ready to officially work by your side," Timmy replied, "as a partner, not just a protege." The transition was natural. Timmy brought fresh perspectives and energy to the project, while Jason offered experience and stability. "You two have become an unbeatable team," Mrs. Patricia remarked, watching them work together. During the celebration of the project's 15th anniversary, one last surprise awaited Jason. All the families who had participated over the years gathered for a special tribute. "Jason Miller," the host announced, "you turned an unfair dismissal into a calling that changed hundreds of lives." One by one, parents and children shared how the project had impacted them. "When we first came here, our son didn't speak," one mother said. "Today, he's in college. The project taught us that having a special child is having a special blessing," another father added. Finally, Timmy took the stage for the last testimony. 15 years ago, Jason found me lost on the street. Today, hundreds of families know they'll never be lost as long as people like him exist." The young man paused, emotional. "But I want everyone to know that the one who was helped the most in this story was me. Not just because of autism, but because I gained the best friend anyone could have." Jason openly wept. "Jason taught me that kindness is a daily choice, that inclusion is about love, not pity, and that the best things in life begin when we decide to help someone." The applause lasted several minutes. When he finally could speak, Jason said, "15 years ago, I thought my life was over. Today, I know it was just beginning, all because of a special boy who taught me that our greatest wealth isn't in what we have, but in what we're able to give." He looked at Timmy, now a brilliant young man. "Thank you, my best friend, for teaching me that saving someone is, in truth, being saved." The end. And you, what did you think of this story of transformation and true friendship? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and if you know any similar stories. Leave a like if the story moved you, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.